Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our neck of the woods. I hope everyone is wonderful today. Um, I'm just gonna jump into it. I was thinking about uh, self care today, and everybody talks about self care, but they talk about supplements. They talk about this. They talk about that. And usually, when people talk about self care, they are talking about vessel care. Nothing wrong with that. You should be taking care of your vessel. But what I want to talk about is caring for your soul self. So, soul self care. Um, so, it's it's kind of like I've got this "don't feed your ego" theme in my head or something here lately. So, I guess we're going to go on that. I was actually putting into practice the objectionable viewing or the objective viewing today, and my goodness, it gives you such a different perspective. Gives you a lot to think about. And so I was using it with uh, interactions with others too, as well. So you can be objective, be an objective observer of the interactions you're having with other people. Now, I'm going to warn you right now, some people will look at you and think you are just an unfeeling, cold hearted person for looking at a situation objectively. Uh, Anna, we all need to do some work, don't we? Or we'd already be there. Soul self care, though, we're taught a lot of things, and you guys have heard me talk about language. Language is not only inadequate; it is almost an intentional deceiver sometimes, and they continually change it all the time. Um, you've heard my normal examples, so I'll just say, how about all these nouns turning into verbs, right? What about that? Little crazy. But every generation does it. Every generation has um, their phrases, their sayings, whatever it is that the generation before didn't use. So we see it all the time. We don't realize we see it because it's become normal. So when people talk about self care, if they're not addressing the whole self, then they're talking about vessel care. My opinion, I'm allowed to have it. Now, there's a lot of soul self care that needs to be taken care of as well. And we talked a little bit about that yesterday. We touched on it. Um, and I think for me, being an objective observer for situations, for traumas, for good things too. Because here's the thing, okay? Um, we talk about ego, and most of the time you have to address the negative parts of ego because those are what keep you on a lower vibration. However, ego is just like everything else, right? Ego loves praise as much as it. Uh, so let's not be confused with, you know, ego has a lot of facets, and we are taught almost exclusively from birth to live in that ego self. So that is kind of like when you're training a dog, right? If you train them, they expect treats every time they do something good. You're literally feeding their ego. Humans are kind of like that too. And dogs also do that with the attention, right? If they do a bad behavior and they get attention, whether it's being yelled at or being praised, a dog doesn't care. That equals attention. You see what I'm saying? Kids are like that when they're very young too. They'll test you, right? So if you feed that negative behavior, then that is what comes out, right? Instead of feeding a positive behavior. And a lot of people laugh at me when I say kids and dogs. It's a lot alike, right? Raising kids and training dogs. Because children will do bad behavior to get your attention, even if your attention is screaming at them. They'll continue to do it because it is garnering attention. So it's, yeah, and trained and conditioned pretty much from birth. And, you know, a lot of times as we grow, we can let go of those illusions. I think a lot of people have, you know, we say the rebellious teenagers, but teenagers are that in between. They're that in between stage. They are transitioning from child to adult, right? And somewhere inside them, there is the want to rebel. Now that rebel is not, I would, I would, I would pose that the rebellious teenager is not rebelling against what, just his parents or just the system or just the man or whatever. um I think a lot of teenagers, they get to that transition point, and somewhere in that transition they know there are things wrong, but all they've known thus far is the childlike behavior. And so they're not sure, unless you've encouraged them to ask the questions, how to ask the questions to get the answers, to give them clarity of mind. And so I know for myself, I can only speak for myself because that's the only life I've lived, uh, is my own. The only moccasins I've walked in are my own. So when you're transition, and even if you think about it, some people are very responsible when they transition into adulthood, and some people are not. They do not transition until a later point in time. That's true for a lot of people, and it's around the world, and it's different cultures. In some places you're considered an adult and treated as an adult, a responsible member of your community from a very young age. And in some places you're coddled until you're 30. Um, and so you're never really put into a position where you have to make decisions and be responsible for the outcome. And we have these vast differences all across the board. And I would argue that they're everywhere, like across the United States, across the world, and not just like little pinpricks in countries. I'm saying within every community, we have these differences. One household does not do the same as the next household. Um, and I think that might be probably to our detriment, but it is what it is. But my whole point in saying that was that a lot of times we're ill prepared to deal with our vessel care, let alone our soul self care, right? Let alone looking at the entire picture. So it's really goes back to what Pappy always says about we're all on the same different path, right? Everybody's at a different point. But, when we explore these concepts, and I like to explore them with more than one voice, but since we don't really have anybody wanting to come up and talk about this today, I think we're going to cut it short and I'll just let you guys go do some research, do some meditation, talk to your higher self and find out what you need. Find out what the big picture is and how do you start to get there. Or if you're in the middle of getting there, what's your next step? Influence has a lot to do with people's perceptions of what they think is important and sometimes forget to put emphasis on what is necessity. And that's true. And we also, that's another, in my opinion, failure of our society is that we allow all these outside influences from the moment of birth, and it's not entirely our fault. It's not our fault. It's not our fault until we wake up and realize, that we were trained into this, right? Once you realize that, you have to change. You have to change something. It has to alter. So if you don't alter that perception and negate the influence, then that's your decision. You're allowed to do that. That's like saying, I want the blue pill, right? I want to go back to sleep. I was more comfortable there. Hey, Dawn. Good to see you. Well, I was actually just getting ready to cut this show very short because I know it's an odd time, but I don't know. I like to have the conversations. Well, I'm going to say this. I just want you guys to think about that. Maybe look into some meditation, but look into soul self-care, not just vessel care. Okay. And yes, they do go together. They really do. When your body is not in pain, your mind can think clearer. Your soul self can come through a little bit better. So yes, that does factor in. It's very important, but they're not exclusive of each other. They're intertwined with each other. And I think a lot of times that's forgotten. And I think it's very important that we remember that it's not just vessel care, but it's also soul self-care. But on that note, guys, I do love you. I wish you all a wonderful day. I am going to cut it short because we do have some chores to do here at the house. But think about that, dig into it a little bit. Oh, well, I hope that your kitty cat starts feeling better. Hey, Shep. Think about today. Yeah. Well, hello, Monty. Well, hello, everyone. I'm glad you finally found us. I'm sorry, I'm getting ready to close out the show here because short but sweet. So, oh, yay, and a bot even popped in. That's just lovely. Heard one sentence. Yeah. So if you hear one sentence, this is what you beautiful people, I want you to think about. And I know a lot of you do, but give some thought to your soul self care, not just your vessel care, right? We talk a lot about properly eating and we talk about taking care of our bodies and exercise, and we talk about all of that, but do we talk about getting rid of the stuff inside, the garbage that we carry around emotionally, mentally, spiritually? And that, I think, is what we really need to be working on at this time. And I think the vessel falls in line once the spirit is nice and shiny. So I know, right? Or toothaches. All right, you guys, have a great day. Love and light.
I want to say hi.
I'm ending the show. Come on.
Hi, everyone.
All right. Well, you beautiful souls, don't forget to shine. Don't forget to look deep, though, because I really believe once you clean up one area, the rest start to fall in line. Oh no, North Carolina girl, you just came in at the end, honey. But it is good to see you again. We've missed seeing you. All right, have a lovely day.